I'd like to call the May 22nd, 2023 Board of Commissioners business meeting to order. As usual, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. One of our residents who is being honored this evening for earning the Girl Scout Gold Award, Alicia Simrak, will lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alicia. Deanna, will you do the roll call, please?
Denise Hall, President.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner. Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager. Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
Nathan Crittenden, Finance Director.
Here.
And it is noted that Liz McNaney, Commissioner, and Assistant Township Manager Megan Weaver and Zoning Officer E. Van Rieker are absent.
Thank you, Deanna. Lauren, were there any executive sessions?
There were. The board met in executive session earlier this evening to discuss matters of personnel and potential litigation.
Thank you, Lauren. Next up, we have a very special recognition, and I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Carter to lead that.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we'd like to recognize Chief Duffy for 15 years of service. Chief Duffy began his police career in 1987. He worked as a police officer on a special patrol squad in the city of Wildwood, New Jersey in 1988. In 1988, Duffy was hired as an officer in the Chalfont Borough Police Department in Bucks County. In 1989, Chief Duffy was then hired as a police officer in Doylestown Township Police Department, again in Bucks County. Chief Duffy was promoted as the first corporal in the department and was later promoted to sergeant. Duffy was then hired and served as chief of police in Newbury Township in York County from 2003 to 2008. In 2005, Newbury Township Police Department became the 30th agency in the state to earn accreditation through the Pennsylvania Commission on Law Enforcement Accreditation under his tutelage. Chief Duffy has earned associate's and bachelor's degrees in criminal justice. He earned his master's degree in public safety administration from St. Joe's University in Philadelphia. He graduated from the 219th session of the FBI National Academy. Chief Duffy began his duties as chief of the Upper Gwynedd Township Police Department on March 10, 2008, and has held that position for the last 15 years. Chief Duffy also holds a first-degree black belt in karate. In addition to his police service, Chief Duffy has held many adjunct positions over the years in teaching and consulting. Although his duties as chief limit his adjunct endeavors, he remains active in several professional law enforcement associations. When he is not on duty, Chief Duffy enjoys working out and spending time with his family. I also asked a couple of officers to give me some statements on Chief Duffy. Deputy Chief Ted Kiola states that it has been his privilege and honor to work with Duffy over the last 15 years and credits the chief in developing the mission statement to perform police services in a highly professional and ethical manner in partnership with the community we serve and to whom we are accountable, and his core values of dedication, integrity, fairness, and courage of our department. Sergeant Bob Pro asserts that Chief Duffy exemplifies a positive and professional public appearance and is always focused on the Upper Gwynedd community first. Officer Dana Hallam is appreciative that Chief Duffy hired her and has given her the opportunity to develop and flourish her skills that she brought to the department. She is thankful that the chief has allowed her to enhance these skills by allowing her to take on roles that a newly hired officer would not normally be afforded to do in other departments. And for my own personal, Chief Duffy has been an integral part of my teaching and understanding about not just Upper Gwynedd Police Department, but the job of police in general. As the liaison, we meet monthly, and Chief Duffy always has a lot to share with me and go over with me. He answers all my questions, my many questions that I have when we go over his reports for Sandra. And I'd just like to thank him personally for taking me on and answering my many questions and making sure that I feel like a part of the team. Thank you, and congratulations, Chief Duffy, on 15 years of service to Upper Gwynedd Township. You gonna say some words, Chief?
Yeah, if you don't mind. One word would be, we need to get a taller mic. I
So
caught up with
noted.
one of my cousins recently, and he asked me, what is the favorite part of your job? So I said, township meetings, of course. I said that I don't, that the only thing I don't like is the occasional personnel issue, but I have Sandra to help with that. I said, but I really love every part of my job. I really do love my job and everything about it. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be that most afternoons I can make time on my schedule to go out on patrol. And my cousin said, what do you mean patrol? I said, I mean patrol. I go out on the street, I answer calls, I make traffic stops, and go and put patrols in schools and things like that. And my cousin said, don't you have like important chief stuff to do? I said, well, like I said, I try to do that in the afternoons. I said, but there is no more job important in law enforcement and police work than that of a uniformed police officer on the street. There's no job more important. There's no job more complicated. It's still a challenge to me after 36 years. It's a perishable skill, and I really enjoy the fact that I can get out and interact with our community directly, that I'm not back down all the time. And I said also, my deputy chief and Julie Murphy do all the important chief stuff really anyway. So thank you very much. I look forward to several more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Our next agenda item is a recognition of one of our Upper Gwynedd Township residents, Alicia Simarak, for her recent earning of the Girl Scout Gold Award. First of all, I want to apologize to Alicia about the typo in our agenda. Her name is spelled Alicia. Sorry about that typo. I'd first like to share some background information about Alicia. Alicia Simarak attends the Commonwealth Charter Academy and plans to major in computer science in college. She has earned the Girl Scout Bronze Award, Girl Scout Silver Award, Service to Girl Scout Scouting Bar, Leader in Action, and Girl Scout Program Aide. In 9th grade, Alicia was inducted into the National Junior Honor Society, then the National Honor Society in the 10th grade. She plays softball, is a member of the Equestrian Club, Science Club, and Reading Olympics. She's led small groups of children with disabilities in various sports and is a member of her youth group. Alicia is a member of the Dungeons and Dragons Club, the Art Club, as well as a volunteer at her elementary school. Alicia was on the Distinguished Honor Roll from 7th through 11th grade, received the President's Award for Educational Excellence, the Literacy Award, and was president of the Yearbook Club. But tonight, we are honoring Alicia for her achievement of the Girl Scout Gold Award. This is the highest achievement in Girl Scouting, and fewer than 6% of Girl Scouts nationally earn this award. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, and as a former Girl Scout, it's my honor to invite you up to receive this recognition of your accomplishment and invite you to share with us a little about all you did to earn this prestigious award. Please join me in applauding Alicia and her amazing achievement.
For my Gold Award project, I created 12 four-chamber bat boxes and installed them in 3 local preserves, Willow Lake Farm Preserve, Dodsworth Run Preserve, Gwynedd Preserve, and one of the bat boxes was also installed here at Parkside Place, which can be viewed near the tennis courts. Um, my hopes with these bat boxes is that they will provide a uh, safer roosting habitat for bats so that they can have a lower chance of contracting white nose syndrome, which is what has been wiping out their populations. And it's a fungus that is invasive that only affects the bat populations. And in addition to the bat boxes, I wanted to spread awareness for this problem and why bats are so important to the environment by creating pamphlets, which I have one here. Um, I had some put in the kiosks or outdoor brochure pamphlets or holders, sorry, at Willow Lake Farm Preserve and the Crossways Preserve. And in addition to these pamphlets, I also created a YouTube animation entitled Batty About Bats that is about a mother bat who is telling her pup about what it means to be a bat, what's going on in the world of bats, what white nose syndrome is, all of that type of stuff. And I thank you for letting me share all of this with you.
Alicia, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. Next up, I'd like to welcome George Cho to the podium, who has a presentation for us in honor of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Welcome, George.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Chief Duffy and the Alicia. Good. I will be talking about Jason Center and Asian American Coalition work. I got only 5 minutes, but a lot of slides. Being Asian, I do need to use the slide. Our organization is named after Dr. Philip Jason, who is the first Korean to get a U.S. citizenship in 1890. Then he was also first U.S. educated medical doctors. He lived in Darwin County until 1951. So we are following his legacies and providing. So if you go to Independence Mall, Faith and Liberty Discovery Center, he's presented as the only Asian American liberty change makers in U.S. history. So you can see that along with the Reverend Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, and folks like Billy Graham. Next slide. Yeah, that just gives you an overview. We have a medical center, and I was asked to present about what we do in this region. So medical centers and healthcare services, and along with the mental health counseling, and some advocacy effort, particularly for young people, and the in census and the vaccine clinics. We have 4 offices, and one is in Philadelphia, and one is in this area in the Lansdale. And then we also have those 2 are healthcare center. Then we also have a senior center in Lansdale and in low-income housing. And the other office is Memorial House about Dr. Jason in order to educate our young generation. So we have a total office staff of about 45 people and the 75 home care aid. And we got a little bit over $6 million budget. And the next slide. Yeah, those are, we have 3 internal medicine doctors with the 1 GYN. Next one. And new one coming, we stole a doctor from University of Penn. So she's coming in June 1st. And we also have a home health care, skill care. Next. Yeah, we do have a home care for Koreans and Chinese that will be expanded. Next. That's the scenery for senior center because they were having depression issues. And so we opened up that office a little bit over years ago, and they're having much fun. In fact, they're even getting into Zoom for line dancing. Yes. Next. Yeah, these are some scene of vaccinations, and it's Asian American Coalition activities. And you have Dr. Francis J. Raj, he's with us. He's serving as a co-chair with me, helping out the Asian American Coalition. We have done so far over 100 clinics. Many of these clinics need some language support, or some clinic we targeted for, because of religious region, woman needs privacy, and those kind of places so we tend to target. And so we've done 100. It's for all community, not just the Asian American community. And we've done town hall meeting whenever we have issues, whether it's a COVID or Asian hate. And we also working with Montgomery County Office of Public Health. We distributed 15,000 rapid test kits during the difficult time. So we tend to work with about 40, 50 organizations for these kind of stuff. Go ahead. This is my last slide. Okay. And so Asian American Coalition, when you look at the Asian American community for Upper Gwynedd Township, you got over 14% of your population is Asian American. It's the fastest growing population in all of Montgomery County. And but they have not been involved with the mainstream community. They thought that they could take care of themselves, and but we're saying no. We really need to work together and then engage the mainstream community. So that's what we will be doing, and so we also need to. Right now, we got 8 language ethnic groups covering 8 largest Asian American community in the Montgomery County. We are also trying to develop some of these communities and through this mini grants because they don't know how to do accounting for some of the grants. They cannot go for larger grants. So we trying to give it out a small grant to some of these communities such that they learn how to do it, then they can get involved with the mainstreams. And Montgomery County was gracious enough to give us a grant, allocate a grant of $250,000 to do AAPI community needs assessment. And that will be the next 2-3 year project. And we're just coming off of that steering committee meeting. And so that we're excited about that. Next thing that we're excited about is adjacent community wellness plaza. It's over $7 million projects, and we got a grant from Montgomery County for 5.25, and the idea is creating a one-stop shop so that the seniors and people who have a difficulty with language and transportation, at least much of the healthcare and human service can be done in that location. And that's number one. Number two is that could be places where Asian American community can find the connections with the mainstream service providers and government. That's the whole idea. It's a grand objective, but we're making a step, and I'm hoping that place will be in the Upper Gwynedd Township somewhere, but we don't know. Yeah. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity. One thing I must say is, out of all the Montgomery counties that we've been going around, and actually Upper Gwynedd Township is a role model in terms of a diversity works that you guys do, and giving opportunity for people like us, our community, to have a voice. And so I do want to thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Next, we have the public comments. Please state your name, and if you are a resident or non-resident when you come to the mic. Thank you for respecting the 5-minute rule and practicing decorum. Our goal is to always give you the most complete and correct answers to your questions from our staff who are experts in each of their areas. For that reason, you have the option of enclosing your email address in the registry if you would like us to reach out to you during the week with the full answer to your question. We had some residents who were concerned that if we answered any question offline, so to speak, then the residents who wanted to hear the answer publicly would be left out. So we will continue to share any answers to questions that were posed publicly but were answered privately at the following public meeting. First up for public comment this evening is Carl Smith.
Yes, Carl Smith. I am a resident for the last almost 30 years. So I'd like to start by saying, is mic working? Asking. Testing, testing. Okay. I'd like to start by saying that I'm old enough to remember when Jimmy Carter was president of the United States. And I'm looking around the room and I think there's some people that, if they're honest, would say they remember that as well. I happened to be a boy at the time, so I wasn't on the front lines of trying to survive economically like my parents and like their counterparts. But I remember the impact it made on them. And I'm bringing that up because it feels like we're living in a parallel universe because of the policies that we're living through that are being done at the federal level. For example, right now we're dealing with high inflation, the same thing that we had in the 70s. We also have high interest rates, again, similar to the 70s. And we're looking at a devaluation of our dollar, which is a tax increase, but at the same time provides a lot less buying power, which gets me to the point locally, which we've been discussing over the past many months, which is housing and the affordability associated with that. Housing hasn't gone up in value necessarily in terms of its real intrinsic value or land. What's happened is the dollar has become a lot less valuable and we can't buy things with it like we used to. So now what do we do? We're having this conversation about how, potentially people that are left out of the economic world. And we're asked to consider the Walters Group, who is a solution, I guess, offered by indirectly through the federal government where they're offering government subsidies and to make up for the out of control government spending because the government is spending more than it has and is borrowing and printing money. So the subsidies and the these are rental units, so there's no equity for these people. I feel like it's a dead end street for all of us that are associated with it. Us as a community, we're going to change as a community if we allow this. These folks that are supposed to be helped are never going to have an opportunity to really experience freedom because they're always going to be perpetually in need of help. So my real question, and this is a real question this time for the board, is the board really content to allow the government that has intentionally caused a problem and now they're coming with a new version of the past alternatives that have always failed? Are you content to allow that entity to do that? Or do you actually have alternates, things that we could consider? For example, could we empower the private sector to stimulate economic growth by providing real jobs? We've seen that work here in the community with Merck and other great companies. It seems like we're looking at the federal government as the ultimate solution and not looking to things that have worked in the past. That's my question.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
Apparently not. Apparently you have no option. Alternative.
Thank you, Carl. Next up, we have Linda Smith.
Hi, Linda Smith, 815 Macintosh Way. I just have a question about last month's meeting, and I was going to pose this to Liz, but maybe you could answer this question. Liz had said that the survey for the comprehensive plan was invalid because of the low number of participants. Is that correct? She said there were only 300 participants, so that didn't give it the validity that it would be if there had been more participants.
I don't think it was invalid. I'm trying to understand what you mean by that, by invalid.
Well, we were talking about the fact that 97% of the people in Upper Gwynedd feel that this is a good to excellent place to live. And she said, well, there was only 300 people that were surveyed. So then that there may be maybe needs more data for that, or talk to more people. Or she said something about doing her own survey. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that was in the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to, she's not here, so
Right.
maybe I can wait to ask her about
Yeah,
that.
I would wait to ask her that question. I mean, I think my guess is that her point was that, we have 17,000 residents. So for the survey for the comprehensive plan, we spent a lot of time trying to get people to respond to it, like everybody does with surveys, because everyone does surveys now for everything, right? They ask for, you go to the gas station and they ask how your service was, right? So everybody does surveys now. And so we spent a lot of energy in that group, in that committee, trying to get as many people to respond as possible. It felt like we exhausted that. And I think that her point was just that the rest of the residents must have an opinion as well. It's just hard to get them all to respond to something like a survey. It's just hard to get their opinion, basically, is I think what she was trying to say.
Okay, but it was done with the survey, but it was valid because part of the survey was written
Yes.
based on that.
Oh,
response.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It
All
was,
right.
right, it's very difficult to get people to respond to a survey like that. So it was, it was actually a great turnout for that, based on how rare it is to get people to respond to something
Because
like
I was just wondering if she thought that most people don't believe that Upper Gwynedd is an excellent, a good place to live, and that's why she needed some more input from more people, I guess. But I've met hundreds of residents over the past, especially the past year, believe this is an excellent, a good place to live. You use the surveys to rationalize the comprehensive plan, and then 2 years later, you say the survey results should be discarded or whatever because of relative low response. So that was confusing to me. And as far as the summer workshops being canceled, I feel that this is contradicting transparency. The purpose of the workshops is to allow public to hear discussion by the board and staff of their thoughts and opinions on the issues that the township is confronting. I know you're putting into one meeting, but it's in two meetings because we need to be able, you need to discuss it, we need to hear it, and we need it to be done prior to the business meeting, not in the same evening. So the workshop meetings are for information for you and for the public. And so I feel like canceling these meetings comes across as you don't care. And I know it's summer, but I think other townships are continuing their schedule of meetings. So, um, also about this open space study that's agenda. Why doesn't the I was reading through it and went into the link and it mentioned there are 500 acres of open space, when in actuality there's 100 acres of open space. Maybe they're not owned, but the previous board, through cooperation with nonprofits like the Wissahickon Watershed, the Natural Lands Trust, and Del Valle College, they spent tax dollars to acquire this open space. So it seems like the township's consultant should be made aware of this. I mean, North Penn School District owns lots of open space that we have access to. We are paid for by tax dollars of residents. So, you want me to do what? Okay, how did I do it?
There's a button at the bottom.
Got it. So we have plenty of open space, is what I'm saying. So I'm not understanding. Am I good? I'm not understanding why we need a study, why we need to spend money on a study. Is this to justify the acquisition of the Martin tract because of, you wanting to acquire that for open space?
I'm not familiar with what study we're doing that you're.
The open space are the request for proposal study that's coming up later on in the agenda.
Pardon me? Oh, is it for the grant funding?
I don't know what the purpose is, but I'm trying to figure out. First of all, it doesn't.
Thank you.
It doesn't. It talks
Oh.
about 500 acres. We have 800 acres of open
Right.
space.
Right, no.
So that was incorrect. in
Yeah,
that.
so I'm sorry. So I'm sorry if that was confusing to you. So it's not an open space survey that's happening. It's a comprehensive plan for the Park and Rec Department. So it's a smaller version of what we did. We did the big comprehensive plan for the whole township, but this is a smaller version because we have the satellite parks that we want to make sure that we're really using them to their full potential. We really want to explore all of our space, all of our recreation space, our open space, everything, and make sure that we are using it to its maximum potential.
Okay.
So it's just to give ideas to the Park and Rec Department about different directions they can take with
So
planning.
it's the park and rec. Okay, thank you. I just believe the focus of this board should be getting back to the basic principles of what local government's all about. That is non-political decision-making based on what is in the best interest of the current residents of this township. They're sitting right here. This board has politicized our township by pushing agendas that are driven by outside influences like the Montgomery County Planning Commission, the Montgomery County commissioners, the National Democratic Party agenda, like with this subsidized housing. This is not for the residents of Upper Gwynedd. This is for other people that are outside of Upper Gwynedd, and we will not be benefiting from it. So I believe local government should be driven by simply doing the right thing with no influences from outside political agendas. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Next up, we have Mike Nestle.
I wasn't born and raised here, but I've been a resident since 1993 when Merck brought me out here from Seattle to fight HIV and make it a treatable disease. Love this area. It's great neighborhoods. It's great parks. It's great green space. You've been active in maintaining some of that, but I am seeing sudden and large changes in our community. I'm in gridlock in traffic every morning, every day at noon and in the evening. I am very concerned about proposed efforts to increase density in here and challenge this infrastructure even more greatly than it is challenged at present. The pace of development is increasing in a lot of parts of our country. I mentioned coming from Seattle because I would never live there again. With the impact of Amazon, with the housing situation there, my neighborhood there was destroyed. And we're at risk here of having our neighborhoods destroyed in like kind in the very near future if we are not very mindful of preserving what we have. That's it.
Thank you. Next up, we have Betsy Marple.
That was my husband. I'm very proud. Thank you very much. Good job, Mike. Hello, neighbors. Hello, council. I have to say, I feel like a surprise guest because I only heard about this issue yesterday from one of the neighbors. I am fortunate enough to have purchased a home in Ocean City 20 years ago as a single parent. I lived in Swedesburg in the late 70s with my ex-husband and bought a home in Stony Creek Village. I was going to keep it a year because I wasn't nuts for it. I'm still there because I have a chronically ill son. I'm on the board of the Crohn's Foundation. He has Crohn's and he's been sick all this time. What I have begun to do over those years, though, and had begun, is love it. Love the neighbors, run the neighborhood, get to know people, get to know the feel of the neighborhood, feel safe cooking dinner and running at 7 o'clock at night after sales as a Blue Cross rep. So I just have that savoir-faire of loving people, loving all of you, and loving Upper Gwynedd. And I thank Upper Gwynedd and the police. I was fortunate enough to meet Chief Duffy when he was put on the board here, because I was actually noted a hero when he was made chief years ago, because one of my wonderful neighbors was dying in his basement for 3 days. So I have cared about every GD person that I've met in Upper Gwynedd Township and more. So I'm here tonight because of that. I'm not fully educated on what's going on, but if I were, I would tell you I'd have a lot more to say and I will be more articulate. What I can say is over the years, Mike and I have both seen the development of property just disintegrate, the thoughtlessness. And I'm not saying that what a wonderful thing to have poor people have a place. I got a kid at home that should be on Medicaid and he's not. So somebody's smoking Dutch cleanser with that because we have the wrong people on it and the wrong people not. And I'm warning you, it's going to attract the wrong people. It is going to attract the worst people. I knew people in North Philadelphia as a sales rep there. I knew people in Levittown, in Bristol Borough, and then the worst area, Bristol Township, where I would call my boss and say, what the H are you sending me here for? Doing in-home visits for Medicaid and sitting there with a 40-year-old whose rent was being paid in subsidized housing because he might be schizophrenic or sick. I have a chronically ill son. I get that piece of that. But what we're going to attract with all of this is density, people that are not favorable to you. If you're not going to be working here, it's not going to be favorable to these people. We're going to have loose dogs running around. I've been attacked twice in my neighborhood with that, with my 2 chocolate labs. So I have to honestly say, I thank you for what you're doing, but I also want to add one more bon mot. Congratulations, Alicia. I love the bat boxes. I love the environment. Pete Clark was my dear friend on State Street. He offered me his property. Now you're going to really think I'm nuts, for 250 grand. We didn't take it. Now there are 9 homes there. The trees are gone. The deer are gone. The hawks are gone. Everything is gone. You don't find a butterfly. You don't find a bunny. It's awful. And that's how this is going to look. It's going to be a dead plain. No one's going to want to live here. So say goodbye to these people, because it's not going to be that they die. They're going to be gone. And you might get what you deserve if we do this. And I don't say you, I say the county. It's a big boo-boo. So thank you, because I love bat boxes. They're wonderful. We love the environment. We love marine life, animal life. So that's a big part of this as well, aside from getting an ambulance to the house when this traffic hits the skid. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Samuel C. Wampole. Sorry if I botched that pronunciation.
Good evening. I was born in 1941. I lived on Allentown Road for probably 2/3 of my life, out of the area because of education or employment. But I'm back on Allentown Road because I have many memories and many relatives in this area. In the 1980s, when I lived at 749 Allentown Road, there was a lot of farm territory exposed between Broad Street and Sumneytown Pike. All of that territory is now housing. So the 80s saw a gigantic explosion in the population of Upper Gwynedd Township. And so I'm concerned about us pushing to the umpth degree to occupy spaces which are currently listed for light industrial. Then I'm also curious, having only recently become involved in various issues, about how many of you are lifetime members of Upper Gwynedd, and if not, why did you move to this area? Could we get a quick answer from each of the 5 of you?
We really don't have time to go into great detail about something like that. This is supposed to be it's supposed to be a public comment section, honestly. If you would like to talk to us aside and we could have lots of conversations. If you'd like to talk to our manager or any of us, we're happy to have a conversation. But all of these people here who work here, we all are
No,
paying them.
just the 5 of you.
Right, but I'm saying
You are
that,
selected by us as electors.
right. I'm saying that we need to keep the meeting moving and we need to keep it efficient because taxpayers are paying for all of them to be here.
Yeah,
So
my
if
tax
we
money
engage
and
with
else
everybody,
here who pays taxes
right,
in this
Samuel,
community.
if we engage in back and forth with everybody and get into word matches and wordsmithing, we're going to be here all night. So we are absolutely happy to have you make public comments for whatever you wanted to say. We're happy to get answers for specific questions, concrete answers that you might need about the township. We're happy to do that. We're happy to talk as long as you want to talk outside of the meeting about whatever you want to talk about, quite honestly. But we do want to keep it to the specific comment that you want to make.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mark Connolly.
Hi, Mark Connolly, 11 Kearney Drive. So, I want to talk about two topics today. The first topic I want to talk about is the Pride Proclamation. So, I'm happy as a queer person to be living in a place where our elected officials are recognizing our community. And the reason I'm happy about that is because there are a lot of communities where that's not happening. Just in the past week, near Orlando, there was a traffic sign that someone commandeered to say "kill all gays." In Bozeman, Montana, there was a pride event where you had white supremacists carrying "White Lives Matter" signs. So, and we are seeing all across the country, legislatures pass laws that potentially harm queer people and trans people. So I am very pleased to live in a place where our elected officials acknowledge that we exist as people and uphold our dignity. I think that's very important. And I wanted to thank you for that. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the issues we've been talking about at the last few meetings with regard to the property on Pembroke. So I guess the one question that I would pose to a number of opponents to this project is, obviously, your role is to listen to us, the community, and understand what we want. And I hear a lot of people saying that they don't want this, but what I don't hear is what they do want. And I know, for example, we had a similar thing with the Martin tract. We have this tract of 30 acres that we could potentially keep open. And there were a lot of people who were opposed to it. But what I don't hear is, what should we do with this property? So I would encourage my fellow citizens to share with you what they want for this property. Because again, I hear a lot of people saying that they don't want this. I personally think that affordable housing is important. And I think that, when I look at the numbers, for example, I looked at Zillow today, and the cheapest property that's not in a 55 or better community is $464,900. So if you're making the median household income in this township, you're not going to be able to afford to buy that property even if you put 20% down. There are, one of the things that the Walters Group brought up is that 46.6% of Upper Gwynedd renters are paying over 30% of their gross income in housing. So that was 770 people, 770 households, I believe. So there are quite a number of people who would benefit from this type of housing. And keep in mind that 60 units, I believe they said 27 of them it's either only 27 of them are going to be for lower income or the opposite. So I believe that when you look at the statistics for the people who currently live in our township, I believe that there's a demand. And I know I have talked to people. I talked to one woman last year who was living in, and all the developments changed, so forgive me if I use the wrong name, but I believe it's Park at West Point, the one by Royal Farms. And this woman, she had told me she had originally been in Willowwook and she couldn't afford it. So then she had to move it to Park. And then her rents went up. So if those rents continue to go up, where is she going to go? And I think that having more housing of this type will potentially alleviate that issue. Now, obviously, you cannot solve all of the ills of Washington or Harrisburg, and I think we all appreciate that. But I do think that it is important that we acknowledge that there are actually quite a number of people in this township who would benefit from this type of development. And again, I would definitely encourage my fellow citizens to explain, what do they think that should be done with this property? Because it's been vacant for, I believe, at least 15 years, we were told. So what should we do with it? And I would definitely love to hear, are there other proposals? If this one does not appeal to the people of this township, what is a proposal that would be economically feasible for this property? So I definitely encourage my fellow citizens to share their thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next up is Ann Imboden. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, great. Was there anyone else who did not get to register who would like to make a comment? No? Okay. Oh, come on up. If you could just say and spell your name.
Yeah,
for us.
Glenn Hatfield. I'm a resident.
Thank you.
You want it spelled?
No.
Real? Okay.
Thank
I do have a couple quick comments. First, the Martin track. I don't think people are necessarily against open space of any type. I can just, I'm speaking for myself, of course. I love open space. I think the big issue is how you're taking the land, eminent domain. We think there's a lot of downsides to that, not to mention, taking away someone's property rights. So I think that's an issue. But open space is great. I think the previous boards have worked with the Natural Lands Trust. I think there's probably a lot of options for that. And if you guys have a plan, what you're going to do with the property and that sort of thing, I think everyone would be very open to it. Certainly would be less traffic generated by that property if it was open space, better drainage, lots of good things. I think we need more details. And again, I'm not sure the township needs to own the property and incur all those expenses, things of that nature. Okay, so that's one of the things. Second thing is relating to the Pembroke Parkway project, Cornerstone, wherever we're calling it, the transit overlay design project or rezoning that you're talking about. It's not about 6 acres of ground. It's not about that at all. It's about once you change the zoning, okay, that allows a large swath of the township to be developed for residential use, retail use, whatever, not just light industrial. So it really expands the use to quite a large swath. If people really looked at a map, they'd be surprised at how big it really is. That's a big issue. Once that's done, effectively, if I come to you with a project that fits that zoning, no matter what it is, you can't say no to me. All you can tell me is square feet, number of parking spaces. And then you'll tell the public, hey, I'm really sorry, but it fits the bill for the zoning. We have to let it go through, and we'll try to do some things like put more trees in or an extra driveway. That's the issue. It's not about the 6 acres. We certainly, hope that, the place is developed into something that's really productive. We think probably jobs are better. But again, it's not about 6 acres. It is about the bigger swath of the township that could be taken up by that kind of development, which would be unstoppable by anybody, including you guys. Okay, so that's my point on that. And then the only other question I had for you, speaking of that project, you were talking about a text amendment for that district, and I was wondering, A, is it complete? B, when will we see a copy of it? I know we have a meeting coming up on June 14th in front of the Planning Commission. It'd be really helpful if we had some idea what we were going to be talking about in that meeting.
Planning Commission will be talking about the amendment. They will be looking at it and giving their feedback.
Will we get any preview of what at least has been talked about, anything of that nature?
We had the presentation from
Could
the
we?
Walters Group. That was one thing we tried to do earlier than was typical, because typically that wouldn't come till the end of land development, right before it was passed, if it was going to be passed. So we tried to do that in order to give people much more information than they typically would have. I don't believe that amendment will be public yet because it's still it's still a work in progress. The document is. Is that correct, Lauren?
Yeah, as of right now, we're still working with the applicant on kind of fine tuning that ordinance. So it's not in final form yet.
Right.
And I think as I looked at that project and became more familiar with what it would look like and what the zoning change would actually be, I was surprised at how big a part of the township it would be. There is a transit overlay district, of course, right across the street, right? But that was a brownfield site. That's why that was actually put in, because the site was a Superfund site. So that overlay district was put in because it was a Superfund site. In order to allow that developer to clean the property up and build a profitable development and use the land for something, the board had to do something in order to make that, a viable project. And that has been a really good push by the federal government and state governments and things like that to use previous industrial land for good purposes. And that was good. But it doesn't mean that we should use that same density figure across the street for a pristine property that's currently zoned light industrial. So that's my thought on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Okay. Moving right along to agenda item number 9. First up is an amendment to the agreement between Upper Gwynedd Township and Unisite LLC that allows access and public utilities to the cell tower located on township property. This will add an additional easement that will create less disruption to township business and the operations of our police and public works department. We Megan Weaver, our Assistant Township Manager, went into great detail about that at our last meeting. And if you click onto the link, you're able to get much more in-depth information if you would like about that. Do we have a motion to approve the second amendment to the standard lease agreement between Upper Gwynedd Township and the Unisite LLC, subject to the final approval by the township solicitor? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item is the approval for the proclamation for Pride Month. First, I will read the proclamation. Proclamation recognizing month of June as Pride Month in Upper Gwynedd Township. Whereas all people are born free and equal in dignity and fundamental human rights, and no one should live in fear of persecution or violence arising from sexual orientation or gender identity. And whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall Uprising, which occurred in June of 1969 and celebrates the LGBTQ+ community and the fight for equal rights. And whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer/questioning, plus other sexual orientations or gender identity, LGBTQ+ citizens are a vital part of many fields and professions that contribute to our vibrant community. And whereas, while the tireless dedication of advocates and allies has led to increased support of LGBTQ+ rights by most Americans, and the passage of the Matthew Shepard and James Beard Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act of 2009, the need for community education and awareness remains vital to eradicate ongoing discrimination and prejudice. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for the township's LGBTQ+ community, and is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas Upper Gwynedd Township joins the LGBTQ+ community in a celebration of diversity and unity and remains committed to treating all people with fairness and respect. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners do hereby designate the month of June be set aside as Pride Month in Upper Gwynedd Township, proclaimed this 22nd day of May, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the proclamation for Pride Month?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Please come to the mic though again, Glenn.
I read your proclamation, and I just had a couple quick questions for you.
Yes.
Since we're talking about sexual orientation, sexual preferences, things of that nature, I'm speaking as a concerned parent, not any group or anything like that. My question is, what kind of programs and activities do you have planned, for this program or proclamation? And then the other question I had was, is there any guidelines, regulations, age appropriateness? Is there something that you guys, have you worked on other things with the proclamation that you want to share with us?
No. We do have a Pride flag raising that is happening on June 1st at 2 o'clock right outside the Township building. This will be our 3rd annual flag raising event. And that is the only event that we have planned for this as of right now.
Have you created regulations, guidelines for
No.
what's appropriate, inappropriate?
No.
Do you plan on doing that?
For the flag raising?
For Pride Month. It's an entire month.
Right. We don't have any events planned for it except for that flag raising.
Do you plan on working on guidelines so that, things are appropriate for age appropriate, things of that nature? I'm not sure what is planned. I just read this
Right.
that doesn't
Nothing
have
is
anything
planned.
on there whatsoever.
Right.
So
There's no events. There are no events happening related to it other than the flag raising.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item is the approval for the proclamation for Juneteenth Day. First, I will read the proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth Day in Upper Gwynedd Township. Whereas our country is made up of people from every nation on earth who are declared equal not only in freedom but also in justice, both of which are essential for a healthy human civilization. And whereas our nation was conceived on July 4th, 1776, with the Declaration of Independence, the classic statement being, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas at 2 p.m. on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1863, using his war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be thenceforward and forever free. The Emancipation Proclamation made the permanent abolition of slavery a Union war aim and provided the legal framework for the emancipation of nearly all 4 million slaves as the Union armies advanced. Hearing of the proclamation, many slaves escaped to Union lines as the Army units moved south. And whereas on June 19, 1865, almost 2.5 years later, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both the Civil War and slavery. His announcement reads, "The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness either here or elsewhere." And whereas Texans began the celebration of Juneteenth in 1866 with community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gatherings, musical performances, and historic cultural readings. Some communities purchased land for Juneteenth celebrations, such as Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas. As freed families emigrated from Texas to other parts of the United States, they carried the Juneteenth celebration with them. And whereas Al Edwards, a freshman state representative, put forward the bill HB 1016, making Texas the first state to grant this emancipation celebration. And whereas on January 1st, 1980, Juneteenth became an official Texas state holiday. Since then, 48 other states and the District of Columbia have also declared it an official holiday. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in Upper Gwynedd Township. Proclaim this 22nd day of May, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the proclamation for Juneteenth Day?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Our next item is approval to advertise the bid for our building security upgrade for the front of our office area. This will increase the safety of our staff and visitors and create more space for our ever-growing staff. Do we have a motion to approve the advertisement of the bid for the building security upgrade project? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next are consent items A through I. Do we have a motion to approve consent items A through I? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Oh, please come to the podium and please state your name.
My name is John Davis. I live at 107 State Street, and I'm looking at this line item F, 111 State Street. It's a 40 by 100 lot. Is there plans now for that to be built on? Because that's not actually part of Roosevelt Court, or I was informed that it was not.
Right, no. There's no plans for it to be built on.
Okay, so that's,
This is the parcel right next to your house you're talking
it
about.
is.
Yeah,
It
no.
absolutely is.
Nope,
Um,
there's not.
okay, so that's not what this is about.
No, no. This is the final escrow, I believe, or not final escrow. Oh, is it final escrow? Escrow release number 5, right. They have to, so with escrow releases, developers have to put a certain amount of money aside in case the township would need to intervene with something.
Okay,
And so when they reach their different checkpoints and they have their different items accomplished and they get the
Okay.
approval from all the different, from the engineers and from the township, and
Right.
from the codes and everybody, then they get the money released back to them like it's increments.
okay, so I'm confused about what the escrow would be if there's no plans to put anything on there.
When they
That's just that small piece of property, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
when they originally submitted their development plan before it had a
For
name.
the whole 9 houses?
Yeah, it was
Yes.
referred to as 111 State, but then they named it Roosevelt Court. So this is specifically for the Roosevelt Court land development.
So this has nothing to do with that little parcel that's,
It
Correct.
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
okay, thank
I know what you're talking about. It doesn't.
you.
No, I know what you mean. It doesn't. Okay. Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo, Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. I will now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Carter.
Can I have a motion to accept the PCC grant in the amount of $65,530 for police technology expenses?
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. I will turn the meeting over to Commissioner Damsker.
Good evening. I have an item 15 order.
Ruth, is your mic on?
Sorry.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Item 15 is a change order. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Merck waiver request from Chapter 113-1 and 124-5 for after-hour installation and construction of a new water main at the West Point campus. And the new dates are from June 5th to June 9th.
So the dates are, Ruth, actually, they are May 30th to June 2nd.
I thought that you changed it. I thought that you changed it.
It's 2 weeks. It's not one. They requested a second week, so it's both
Oh,
of
it's a
those.
second
Both
week.
of 'em.
Okay,
Right.
all right. So then it's, so you're saying it's from May 30th to June 2nd?
Correct?
And then
Okay.
And
And June 5th to June 9th.
thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Damsker. I will read Commissioner McNaney's section. The next line item is an approval to switch from Ralumac to NovaChip. While this product is more expensive and will require that we microsurface less roads this year, NovaChip is more seamless, leaves less gravel, and seems like more residents would prefer. I know that since I've been on the board, that has been a complaint of a lot of residents who had their streets, especially their cul-de-sacs, microsurfaced with the Ralumac. There was aesthetically, the street wouldn't look as good. There was also excess gravel along the edges that would get carried into their houses. It was a dilemma. We have been looking for an alternative since, like I said, since I started on the board. So we're so excited that we have found the NovaChip. As a result, we will do less roads this year, so we'll still stay within budget. In fact, we will finish a little under budget. But we feel like it's worth the difference because it's that much of a quality product. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 11-2023, piggybacking with Whitpain Township for microsurfacing? We have,
Second.
we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any board comments?
Exactly what does whip pain piggybacking, what does that mean?
We do our microsurfacing together with them to save money.
Okay, so it's not because we're going to Novichip, we were already
Yeah,
piggybacking on
we
it.
typically do that with different projects that we can work on together and use
Saves
the
us
same
money.
resources at the same time.
Okay.
Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next up is a motion to approve the request for an RFP for our comprehensive recreation park and open space plan so we can start advertising a bid, which we talked about during the public comments tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the RFP for a comprehensive recreation park and open space plan?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item is approval to apply for a grant to help fund the refurbishment of Castle Park. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 12-2023, authorizing the application to the CFA Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program in the amount of $250,000 for the Castle refurbishment project? We have a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next two items are the approval to apply for funding for our Jacks Lane Stream Bank Restoration Project. Approval of this will allow us to apply for these two grants. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 13-2023, authorizing application to the CFA Flood Mitigation Program in the amount of $63,699 for the Jacks Lane Stream Bank Restoration Project? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 14-223, authorizing application to the CFA Watershed Restoration?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will turn the meeting over to Commissioner Simulero.
We have two motions tonight under the wastewater treatment plant. The first motion is to approve addendum number 1. Sorry about that. We have two motions under the wastewater treatment plant. The first motion is to approve addendum number 1 to the sewage facilities construction, operation, maintenance, and reimbursement agreement with Merck. This was a project that was started actually back in 2011. So with Merck, where Upper Gwynedd would construct at Merck's expense a pump station and dedicated sewer line. So basically, this is just a re-up of the same agreement with an updated cost schedule for the next 10 years. So there's a motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Our second motion is to approve the purchase of wiper cylinders and sensor assemblies from Trojan Technologies in the amounts of $23,505. At our plant, we use ultraviolet as a main process for disinfection. And basically, it consists of many moving parts, and moving parts wear out. And basically, this is to replace the parts that have worn out due to regular maintenance, due to regular wear and tear. Do we have a motion, Denise?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Simulero. Lastly, we have the open and paid invoices. Do we have a motion to approve the April 2023 open invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simulero,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve the April 2023 open invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do any board members have anything else this evening? Microphone? Microphone, Ruth?
Yes, good evening. I just wanted to remind, and I don't know, like I said, that some people say they've been here a long time. I'm actually born in Montgomery County, and I came up to Upper Gwynedd because my children live closer. So, and I certainly enjoyed, it's a beautiful township with the trees, and this fall was spectacular, and I hope people took advantage and drove around and saw the orange and the green and the beautiful, and it is a beautiful township. I just want to remind, and I don't know whether you remember, that up at the county, we had a open space program. We wanted to be able to give grants to each municipality so that they could purchase open space and be able to provide either for recreational purposes or various different issues. And it was a whole process where they had to write a grant. And one of the things that it enabled us to have the Perkiomen Trail, which is a wonderful trail. How many people use the Perkiomen Trail here? And it is beautiful. It's one of the top things that I'm very, very proud of when I was up at the county, and that's what we accomplished in 4 years. And we didn't go for, we decided that we weren't going to wait for federal dollars because it takes forever sometimes before you can get the money. And we used in-house solicitors, which saved a lot of money. And like I said, we opened up grants to every single municipality, including Upper Gwynedd or some of the smaller townships like Telford and Lower and Upper Southford, because they didn't necessarily have the taxpayers' dollars to be able to afford to open up trails and to be able to do them. So we put it on a referendum. It was a $150 million referendum, which the voters of all of Montgomery County voted, and 88% of the people in Montgomery County voted to have money, to have that $150 million spent on open space. And that's how much that our communities cared about open space. So I just want to make that real clear, that nobody is, like I said, we have the county as well as the township. We're making plans for the future so that we are improving. And I don't know now, this isn't, I'm an older person, but I must tell you that we have Sarah Priebus, who is our Parks and Rec person, head of the department. She is an absolute gift to us, that she's the one who their summer programs for the children. You can go and you can go, and you'll remember these drive-in movies they have for the kids, that you can come drive-in movies. They have all kinds of, and I know pickleball is a big thing. We have pickleball courts out there for for us, the older people. And I think that I love this community. And it saddens me, to be honest, and everybody has a right to say how they feel, but when people question us, that we don't want what's best for our community. And I just want you to know that everyone on this board works really hard to try to make this even a better community than we possibly could. And we're happy to hear any input you want, but I just want you to be aware of, because it's hurtful, to be honest, to be up here and have people, say, oh, well, I think we didn't raise taxes in 4 years here. And I think that's terrific. I think that's really showing that we really care about your pocketbook, my pocketbook. And I would hope that sometimes that I'd love to see you come up here. And I'm just saying, and see that if you can do any better. And if you can, because there was a gentleman who stood up there and he said, we want to hear what you have to say. And, but there's all ways of saying things. And so I just hope you'll think about some of the things that I said. And I'm appreciative that you come because we do listen. We really do listen.
Thank you, Ruth. Catherine, you had something?
I just want to thank all emergency teams out there, emergency management. This week is emergency management week, and we'd just like to thank all of our ambulance and appreciative of all of their services in Upper Gwinnett and all around the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. And on that note, the meeting is adjourned.